Hello, this is Ruben and welcome to the Samplecast episode 15. There's plenty in this show as usual. There's a huge developer update section and also I'm going to have a look at a golden oldie, one of my favourite synths. For more information about the show you can head to thesamplecast.com, head to Twitter, chat with me on Facebook, or of course you can download the Samplecast podcast from all the major podcasting platforms. So let's get on with the show. This week's roundup kicks off with Chocolate Audio's Uproar. Now this is a new Contact product from Chocolate Audio and it actually uses a brand new Contact engine that they've developed called Chocomatic. There'll be lots of future updates using this engine, but the first product is Uproar. And with this, it's a 8-string baritone guitar. You can trigger up to 4 parts simultaneously, which can be tempo synced to the beat of the bar. This instrument is perfect for aggressive cinematic motifs. You've got 6 songs in there. Obviously these can be split and particular parts of them can be played over one another. There's an offer on until June the 30th, so if you're quick you'll be able to get hold of that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some more instruments using this Chocomatic engine. Let's see what they do next. A selection of packs now for those that are more into their dance music. The first is by Function Loops and it's called Summer Deep House. Runs at 126 BPM and here you've got 260 separate files split into 6 construction kits with loops, one-shots, effects and also MIDI files with presets that you can load up in massive and silent. With this particular pack you've also got a bonus of 30 deep house drum loops. Function Loops have developed another pack with a similar kind of vibe but more on the kind of tropical house tip. This is called Tropic House Percussion and it runs at 105 BPM. You've got 200 files here with drum loops and fills, there's full kits and also auxiliary percussion. With both of these libraries you can get free taster packs from the Function Loops website, so have a look at those. Tropical House seems to be a bit of a theme this week. The next one is by Rigid Audio and it's a pack called Tropical Breeze Volume 1. Runs in the full version of Contact and the best thing about this really is it's just $8. You've got 86 presets there with onboard effects and sequencer and the instruments included are flutes, basses, accordions, pads, plucks, leads, effects and there's even an accordion in there. So anyone that's looking to create that kind of summery house tropical vibe then check this out. It's pretty cheap. I don't think you'll regret it. This is Bargain VST, the section of the show for bargains and discounts. You can find out more on the Twitter handle at BargainVST. And first off, Orange Tree Samples have a summer group discount going. Now, this has been running for a few days by the time you watch this. They hit their target of 50% within literally just a couple of days. So they've now extended the offer to 60% off every single thing by Orange Tree Samples. They're hoping that up to 1,000 people will take part in this and they're well on track to be hitting that target. It is the best Orange Tree Samples discount that they've ever offered. I do a little bit of work for Orange Tree Samples. As you may know, I produce a lot of their tutorial videos and I can vouch that these are some of the best guitar libraries around. They've also got a songwriting competition going. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail here, but you can check out that on their site. Time and Space have an offer for 50% off Zynaptic Unmix drums. It's a plugin for Mac and PC and it allows you to boost or cut drums in your mix, in a full mix, an audio file indeed. So you can use this on a full mix or a drum bus as well in order to shape the drum transients. I've got a couple of other Zynaptic plugins myself and I use them regularly, especially Zynaptic Unveil, which I think is particularly good for removing reverb. I haven't tried this, but there's no reason to think it can't be as good as all of their other plugins. Check it out at the Time and Space website. Lastly, an offer from VST Buzz. They're pretty regular with their offers on this show. It's Extreme Environments by Zero G and it runs in the full version of Contact. It's basically a sound designer's toolkit, drone soundscapes and kind of multiple textures in there as well. It's a pretty comprehensive Contact interface too with 150 presets. Also includes in the package WAV files, Apple loops and presets for Logic Space Designer and also Logic channel strips as well if you're into that sort of thing. 50% off at the moment, so currently €29.99. Have a look. This week's big review is from 0G, it's called Arc, and a copy has been supplied by Time and Space. Thank you so much, guys. It runs in the full version of Kontakt, and EXS24 instruments are there as well. The package also includes acidized WAV files, files for Halion, Reason and Apple loops too. And basically here you've got drones, soundscapes and evolving textures. It took me quite a while to go through this library. There's quite a lot of content there, several gigabytes worth, and the samples I really liked. They are really long to begin with. A lot of them are over a minute in some cases, and the complex sounds have been split into their component parts. The composer John Velasquez has taken a lot of care to separate the kind of useful parts of those sounds, so either the high filtered parts or the low rumbles, and provide you with those sounds separately, so that's a real bonus. The pads have been labelled by key and chord, so that's really handy too, although once you discount all the various key and chord combinations, there's really only two main pads that are in their constituent parts too. There are a couple of improvements I think could be made to the library. The Kontakt instruments, although they're useful, they are about as simple as they come. Someone's literally just dragged the samples into the Kontakt interface and then saved them, and also the tempo based sounds don't sync to the Kontakt host tempo. Not really a big deal because these are kind of very spacey kind of ephemeral sounds anyway, but it would have been useful if they'd have synced up. So overall I think Arc is a really solid collection. It's got nice wide spacey sounds and will cover a multitude of purposes. Welcome to Golden Oldie. This is an occasional section of the show where I like to focus on some of the old instruments and sound libraries that I think have still got a lot of life left in them despite being sometimes decades old, and this is a good case in point. It's the Roland JNO 106. Now really I've no idea why the JNO 106 has achieved classic status, but it definitely has done so, especially amongst dance aficionados. It's been used by loads of bands such as The Prodigy, Pet Shop Boys, Moby and William Orbit, amongst hundreds of others. At its core it's a pretty rudimentary analog polysynth with easy programming and advanced MIDI controls, for its day at least. It had a built-in chorus, so all the sounds were quite fat in there. It's got a decent low-pass filter and programmable mod and pitch controls. It's quite easy to find on the second-hand market. You can have a look on eBay, but it's also pretty easy to emulate with a variety of soft synths, so you don't need to go out and purchase a hardware unit, adding more units to your studio. If you want a sampled version of the JNO 106, then you could do a lot worse than look for this Kontakt version from Particle Sound. It's called JNO II and it's been recently released. It samples the original synth and wraps up all of those sounds into a dual layer Kontakt engine with far more customization options than were ever available in the original JNO 106. Now you've got 4 effect slots with this as well, also delay and reverb with a lot of presets, IRs in there too. I've personally had a go on this instrument. It's actually really inspiring, and you can use one of the over 100 presets for jumping off points and then get to work with the knobs and dials and dial in some of that JNO 106 fatness. So as a child of the 90s, I've got a lot of love for the JNO 106, and really I've heard those sounds on so many records that are my favourites. On paper the machine is nothing special, but you really do have a place in my heart. There's a lot of new updates to talk about in this section of the show. First we're going to chat about Logic. Runs in Mac obviously, and we're up to version 10.2.3. There's several bug fixes here, and there's new interfaces for many of the native Logic effects that make good use of the Retina displays. There's also a new loudness meter plugin, and there's lots of new editing tweaks and some useful additions to the takes mode as well. So if you're recording a lot of live instrumentation, you'll probably find that quite useful. There's a few new sounds that they've chucked in as well, 300 Chinese loops and 3 Chinese instruments. Anyone who uses Logic should have automatically seen this update option appear, but if you haven't, head over to the Mac App Store and you'll be able to find out all about it. The next update is from Strezov Sampling, and it's Cornucopia Strings version 2. Runs in the full version of Kontakt and it's 9 GB. Now it's quite a few years old, this library, but George Strezov has gone back to the drawing board and basically put the samples into a new user interface. This interface contains all patches now within just one window, so it's easy to click through and find what you want. He's improved the tuning, and there's a new polyphonic legato ensemble option as well. It's free to owners of the original Cornucopia strings. There's an intro discount for others as well, and if you like the sound of a kind of vintage chamber string ensemble using musicians from Bulgaria, then this is going to be right up your alley. I was kind of intrigued by this next library. It's by Atom Hub and it's called Cryptar Eternal Light. It's been developed stemming from the original Cryptar library, which was a free library given away by them. This particular one runs in the full version of Kontakt. It's now expanded to include over 1 GB of samples, and you've got 216 individual NKI files, including 102 multis as well. As I say, it's an update. The original library focused mainly on guitar tones, but now they've added a lot of other sounds, including quite comprehensive piano tones as well, and then lots of kind of spooky underground noises such as chains, metals, church bells, water dripping, footsteps creaking and groaning, that sort of thing. They've sent me this for a little play, and I have to say I had a lot of fun. It's got an unusual interface, and it's a bit spooky looking as well. So it's great for horror and suspense. Get ready to pump out those tracks ready for Halloween. But also I was surprised it's quite tuneful as well. The guitar, piano and some of the other patches have a nice kind of melodic element to them. So it's definitely worth having a look at the Atom Hub website. Thanks so much for watching this week's Samplecast. For more information you can head to the website at thesamplecast.com. You can also catch up with us on Twitter, on Facebook. You can email thesamplecast@gmail.com. Don't forget to take a listen to the podcast. That's where we go into the products in a little bit more detail. You can hear examples of the products I've reviewed and also some composer and product demos as well. If there's anything you want to see on the show, please do let me know, and until next week, bye bye now.